We are live. Wars of Napoleon from H-Odd game developer company. A map of Europe slowly lagging into view. I'll tell you a bit about my personal Napoleonic warfare gaming history and experience. It's not very extensive, I'll give you that. And my knowledge of Napoleonic war history isn't that extensive either, hasn't been at least. So it started when I was at university with a game I'm going to be referring a lot because it's kind of the fundamental base game that I have experience of, and I'll show it here in camera. It's been sitting in my bookshelf for 25 years unplayed, but it's called Empires in Arms, and it's from Avalon Hill Game Company, and it's probably one of, I shouldn't say probably, it is maybe the best, most fun, most advanced, most time consuming, most challenging board game as well as computer game I ever played. It's an excellent game, of course. It's about the Napoleonic Wars. It's a grand strategy game. Rules are quite complex, but that's not the main issue with the game. The main issue is that you play the 7 major powers of this era, which is the United Kingdom, France. We have down here obviously Spain. I'm tabbing back and forth into the game, and it's slow as molasses. Could I turn off Google Chrome? Yes, let's do that. Let's close down Steam. I think the game's going to be running without Steam in the background. No, that turns off the game. It's just that this game is apparently very badly optimized. I read that it crashes quite a lot. It hasn't been crashing for me. It's from, I think, 2015. Oh, is the game closing? It's not closing down. And now okay. Now it's still very sluggish. Anyway, Prussia, Austria, Russia, Ottoman Empire. That's it. That's the 7 big ones. Okay. Now, where do you find 7 dedicated board game players that are willing to play 120 turns? That means 1 month for 1 round turn per month for 10 years, 1805 to 1815. You don't find that unless you have young, non-working university students that like wargaming. I played 2.5, so let's say 3 campaigns of this at university, and 2 of them I think went at least to the conclusion. Maybe not 10 years, but 7-8 years, which is we met up every Sunday. We were hangover because we went out to student clubs, fraternity, discotheques, whatever you want to call them, and we had pizza and we played the entire Sunday. So we had plenty of time. The game includes, now I'm talking about Empires in Arms, a lot of diplomacy. It's basically the game diplomacy, which is also is an old 70s Avalon Hill game with added strategic and tactical movement, production points, and it takes a long time for each round. A couple of hours. Maybe we played 2-3 months, maybe 4 months in one Sunday afternoon, early evening. So when I say that our campaigns went on for years, I'm not exaggerating. We played our campaigns for years, but it was a lot of fun. We were not the best tactical and strategic war gamers at that time. We probably didn't know, at least I didn't know a lot about Napoleonic Warfare. The game is obviously between the contest between France and the UK of the hegemony of Europe. Whereas I kind of thought that, well, it's a game with 7 playable nations, so shouldn't Prussia be as powerful somehow as France and the UK? It's not. It's not. Some nations are much less powerful in Empires and Arms. And the way you balance that is by diplomacy between the players. You can play with fewer players. In some of the campaigns we had, I don't know if we started with 5 or 6 players, but maybe people dropped off and then they came back. And so we had kind of the AI rules for them being played out. One player takes control of a non-player nation and controls them. There's certain costs to it, but also obviously certain benefits. So when many years ago, Matrix Games, which is a wargaming development computer game company, said that they were gonna take Empires in Arms to the computer, I was very excited. Very excited. It took a long time and they finally got the game out. And when it came out, it was a decent product. The AI was almost non-existent, but that's the case with many war games, really, that the AI is very, very bad. But the user interface, the look of the map, just general overall feel wasn't that good. Also, I had a lot of technical problems with it. I came back to Empires in Arms, and I can install it, but I can't start it. It's just they don't maintain it, they don't patch it, they don't fix bugs, and I think maybe PC computers has gotten faster over the years, and the old original last patch or development version of it just doesn't run on my computers. I think I tried it on this computer and the last one, and I bought it for my 3 computers back from now, and then it ran at least, but not that well. So I was terribly disappointed with the computer version of Empires in Arms. Not gonna give that a high degree, but if it would run, I would consider playing an play by email online campaign of Empires in Arms again. Probably never ever gonna play it as a board game again because it's quite huge, like a small tabletop tennis ping pong table, and yeah, it's just not doable as an adult to play these kind of games. Unfortunately, I wish it was, but no, it's not. So I also owned a game called War and Peace. It was one of those boring late 70s, early 80s, with the map being one color, beige, kind of offish white, and rivers were blue, and that's it. I sold it and I tried to rebuy it just for reminiscence and sentimental reasons, but I haven't been able to yet. Probably not gonna play it if I buy it, but I owned it once, so I want to own it again. I don't think that was a little bit more tactical because it was hexagons, a lot of them, but Empires in Arms is more of a strategic overall game. You have strength points with different sets of morale. So I knew the French and the British armies and navies are better than the rest of Europe. I knew that. But over the years, I learned a lot more about Napoleonic warfare, about Napoleon, his armies, about the diplomacy, about the French Revolution, and now I realize that it's a lot different than I thought. It's just not diplomacy or risk on steroids when you play a Napoleonic warfare game. So when Age Odd came out with Wars of Napoleon, I was excited, but it's been very expensive. And when I read the reviews, they said it's a good Napoleonic warfare game, but it crashes. I don't know. I haven't advanced from turn 1 yet. Now it came out on Black Friday sale, November 2020, and I decided to buy it, install it, open it up. And here it is. Do I have something else to say about my background in gaming? No, I guess that's it. Maybe I'll come back with it. So let's dive into H-Odd games. I own a few of them. I have played the Civil War version of it, maybe a year and a half as the Southern Confederate States. So I kind of know how they work. And each turn is weekly in this game, so it's 7 days. And you give your troops orders, and then simultaneously they will execute the orders. So I kind of am familiar with this kind of games. They're not terribly complicated to get into to play because you just click and drag your armies and they go there. But I'm not familiar with how the nations here are set up because there's a lot of detail to these maps and these games. And I had to spend quite a lot of time. I watched some YouTube replays and I spent a lot of time looking into the map and the armies and the leaders, and now I'm a little bit more familiar with France. I realized when I was trying to decide which nation I was going to play that you can actually only play two sides. You can play the Allies, and you basically play the UK, but you get to control a bit of, I guess, Russian and Austrian troops as well, I think. And you cannot play Spain, but you can play France and you get certain control options over Spain. So it's a two-side game, UK or France. How you play Austria or Ottoman Empire, I don't know if you even can do that. Let me show you the diplomacy screen. Where is it here? So yes, yeah. Well, that doesn't tell you a lot. Now, this being 1 week turns for 10 years, it runs between 1805 to 1815. Like, it seems to be the generic Napoleonic warfare game period. The war breaks out, I think, in 1803 after 1 year peace period, the peace at Amiens, and well, it seems Napoleon just basically trained his UK invasion army here at Boulogne, set up his course, and had core maneuvers, and prepared to invade the UK. And then things went wrong, and there was a huge European war. So maybe January 1805 is a good time to start the campaign. You could start in the early fall of 1805, I guess, after the Battle of Trafalgar. So France has lost their navy, which is bad for France and good for the Allies. But also, I suppose you have managed to pull off those incredible early Napoleonic victories, where you have the encirclement of around 60,000 and capitulation of 60,000 Austrian troops at Ulm under General Mack, and then I think Austerlitz, where Napoleon trashes the allied Russian combined Austrian armies and invades Vienna. So the way I see it is, if you start in January, you get half a year to build up and design your nation, which is fun, and you don't get to lose your navy when you start. But are you gonna be able to pull off all those land combat immense French victories like Austerlitz and Ulm? I don't think you will be, but I prefer to keep my navy. Even though the AI is bad, and the combat system is a bit weird in this game, that you don't get combat. You just send in your troops, you choose a tactic, and then there's an outcome of it depending on a multitude of factors. It's kind of neat. I'm not saying I don't like it, but I'm not very familiar with it. I don't count on being as successful land-wise as Napoleon historically was. I think it's quite hard to do that, actually. So we'll see what happens. But I decided to play the longest possible campaign, which is 10 years, with a start winter 1805. It starts with Napoleon and his rather huge and incredible army, La Grande Armée, sitting here off Boulogne. Not to be mixed up with Bologna in Italy. And it consists of the six first corps. Corps 1, 2, 6, under the great famous marshals. France also has a seventh corps, which I was not familiar with, under a marshal which is called Charles Augereau. he has very mediocre stats, so he's not a great commander. This game gives you power, so he has almost 700 power, but it's kind of hard to gain an overall size of this army in general. If I hover over here, I can tell that the divisions have 8,000 infantry in them and the cavalry has 8,000. So I guess this would be 17,000 troops or so, give or take, with supply more, with engineers and bridging more, with artillery more. But let's say it's a 7,000 man corps, the 7th Corps. So what is the purpose of this corps? Yes, it's obviously to protect the French Navy from any early British landings, amphibious. Because in Empires and Arms, what the UK loved to do was to send down their rather tiny army but high quality army, siege a port, and force the French Navy to exit and then kill it off. It goes for the same with the Spanish, Dutch, and while also Scandinavian, Danish, and Swedish navies. The more navies you eliminate, the more powerful and the more naval supremacy the UK is going to have during this war. Now, there are a certain navies sitting around in other ports as well, smaller squadrons. I think though that the main Atlantic Escadre de Brest is sitting here. Is there a way to say how many ships this navy has? No, it has power 800. And if you want to calculate the amount of ships, it's hard to do that. I guess this means these flechets here means there's two. Well, anyway, the French Navy doesn't have a standard chance versus the UK Navy. It's not only training experience, it's definitely admirals. The French have worthless, very bad admirals. Still, I'm gonna play it as a fleet in being, maintain a threat of a landing, and just keep my fleets alive instead of losing them outside the Spanish coast at Trafalgar. So we have a 7th Corps protecting the Atlantic coastline. I noticed that some of these ports don't even have a shore battery, so I need to be building that. I am not scared of a British landing during the winter. I would welcome it because Napoleon and his Grand Armée can trash that. What other forces do France have in 1805 winter? Well, they have the army of Italy under Marshal Massena. He's a 355, so he's a decent leader. Well, he's actually quite good, but he's not the best marshal that France has, except for Napoleon. So, best case, how I'm gonna do this, I don't know. I would like to send down an even better army commander. France at this time has 2 armies, but they could have a third that they need to build and kind of start. I don't know what an army does in difference to a collection of corps or divisions. I think it just gives more levels of leadership, so it fights more efficiently. Now, I was thinking, oh, Massena, the army of Italy, doesn't have a lot of fighting troops. It's a bunch of cavalry and support units, la la la. But then I found up here north of Milan, there are 3 wings, the flanc gauche, centre, flank droit, the right and the left flank with the center, and they each have a bunch of troops. Again, I can't really tell you how many troops, say 12, 12, and maybe again. Oh, this one is smaller. Well, let's say 12,000. So maybe 36,000 infantry and cavalry. And then there's a bunch of smaller brigades around here. So it's not a huge army, but I'm planning and intending to take a defensive stance in Kingdom of Italy if and when I end up in war with Austria. But definitely these forces could be better led. They could be better. They could be larger. So strengthening them is one out of say four strategic goals that I have. Is it my main and primary goal? No, I don't think it is. How much could Austria send in here? Well, probably a lot more, maybe twice as much as France has. But we have the very famous fortress of no. I didn't want to move that. Yeah, the UI is unfamiliar. I'm not saying the UI is bad. I'm saying it's unfamiliar to me. So Mantua has a level 3, size 3 fort and a decent garrison here. Division de Cremon. It's cavalry for some reason. And that's it. Okay, so I don't have any infantry in Mantua. That's not good at all. I need to move, definitely need to move a garrison into this size 3 fort. What I want to do is hide in my forts and let the war be settled in another way. How is that, you ask yourself? Well, obviously by marching the Grand Army over and invade Austria through the German states here and fight hopefully smaller forces and march on Prague and then Vienna. Where's Vienna? So this is a defensive force here. Spain is in the war with France, and I would like, as one of the four goals, to set up a division, corps, maybe even the Third Army, and help Spain defend their homeland and navies sitting in the ports. But at the moment, there are no forces available for that. Could I move my 7th Corps down here? Yes, I could, but I feel I really need to defend my coastal Atlantic shoreline. We have a Dutch, I think it's Dutch, well, it must be Nivelt. It's called the Walkerenkamp in Antwerpen. General Julius van Zulen van Nivelt. Not a great strength, 200, not a great number of troops, not great leaders, but it's a Dutch corps. Maybe this could be an Atlantic defensive force as well in the north. Other than that, we have the army of, no, yeah, the army, the Armée de Hanovre. This is not a proper army, I think, because I only have 2 armies, remember? It's just called the Armée de Hanovre. It's not huge. It's only around, let's say, 8,000 men. But it occupies Hanover. At this time, Hanover was a part of the UK, of England, of Great Britain, because the king came from here. But now we have occupied it, and Hanover and Bremen is under my occupation. If there's a UK landing, or if Prussia invades, if I end up at war with Prussia, which I have no intention of, I am just gonna have to sit in my fortifications, and La Grande Armée is gonna have to bail me out. So increasing the, what's it called again? These are not proper French provinces, so their loyalty is only 25% French and 75% Hanoverian. So I'm investing a lot of special decisions and events and resources in making these provinces better defensively, and also making the population a bit more friendly towards France. I'm putting in decisions. Can you say defensive works, develop territory, and block houses? So you have a bunch of cards that you play in this game, and I'm playing the majority of them up here. So I would like to build more forces and send up here. That's one of my 4 strategic goals, remember? Is it my highest priority? No, I don't think it is. It's only one of them. So not that groundbreaking, but The Grand Army is really powerful, as it is very powerful. I mean, by far the most powerful land force. How large is it? I couldn't tell you. I know in Empire Surrounds the board game, you gain 135 French infantry. I remember that. No militia. And that's almost as much as Prussia and Austria together. They can feel maybe 150, 160 points. And it's all in here. So when the weather turns clear, when the winter is over, when it's no longer harsh weather and snow, I'm gonna march La Grande Armée over towards Mainz, and from Mainz I can strike into Germany if there are any German powers that opposes me, and I can go to war with Austria and fight their armies. And to that end, I have done some construction. I've constructed a couple of, what are these called? They're called, see, if you hover over here, you get Signals Regiment. They take 3 months to get operational. So I start by building the 90 days upgrades. A balloon for Napoleon to sit in and observe. A field hospital. I'm also building up here a couple of units for my army of Bremen or Hanover. Field hospital engineers. What are these called? These are called sappers. So they get all the support troops. So I'm basically only building support troops this first turn. You have money, pounds, thousands of pounds. You have conscript companies, 890, which are manpower. You have war supplies and horses. Those are your resources, engagement points. And I spent most of it this turn. I don't know how many you get each turn, so maybe I'll leave a couple of them sitting around here. What else have I built? Well, I built privateer squadrons. No navy, not going to do that, but I am going to be constructing, what are they called? Where are they? Let me show you what is called privateer squadrons, which are, I think they would be called corvettes. They're called privateer, but they are in effect 24 cannon, 200 man ships. And if you look at the picture and if you look at the amount, it would be a very, very small frigate with a single gun deck, probably 9 or 12. I don't think they would have 18-pounder cannons. 24. No, 12-pounders or 18-pounders. So these are light, fast ships, and they have a box here which is called a tiny transport. Now, are these going to be worthwhile investments costing as much? They take 6 months to build. They cost 180 war supplies, and I don't know how many war supplies I'm going to gain. I could build cavalry, I could build artillery, I could build actual fighting ships. Well, I decided to go for privateers. Hopefully they can raid British shipping and kind of delay their economical growth and keep my kind of trade routes in the open a while more. I don't know. That's what I decided to go with. If it's a good strategic investment, I don't know. But it takes 6 months to build them, so I thought that I might as well start building them as early as possible. I can always build cavalry and artillery later. They take less time to get ready. So a few support troops and a few privateers. That's my entire build for this first turn, and I will come back and report how many resources I gain each turn. That will give me a bit more ability to tell you a more detailed construction plan, because as I said, strengthening my armies will obviously have to be my main focus in this game. Oh, here you can see the two armies, Massena and Napoleon, Italy and France. What else? I have gone through diplomacy and sent a lot of diplomats. I'm basically overall just going to focus on keeping, if possible, Prussia and the German states friendly, the Ottomans friendly, and just, if the German minor states wants to wage a war against me, fine, I'll let them, but I'm not going to be aggressive and upset them. Obviously, a goal of me in the long run was going to be to set up the Confederation of the Rhine. I think there was a smaller German kingdom before the large Confederation of the Rhine, which was a predecessor to Germany, more or less. Um, Kingdom of Westphalia, was that it? I don't know, but first Napoleon set up a smaller number of these German countries into a kingdom that he was the protector of, and later on he set up a more all-encompassing federation. I'm sure there's going to be diplomatic options of that later, but I cannot examine them because if I go into the strategic atlas here and I go to decrease, it's empty. I think that's because it's the first turn of the campaign. There's also military reforms, same, empty. I hope it's not a bug. I hope it pops up here turn 2. So I really don't know what my end game's gonna be diplomatically, really, except that I'm playing a bit offish and friendly and not very aggressive. Maybe that will take Austria and Prussia and Russia a bit longer to enter the war against me and gives me more time to prepare. I don't quite see what I have to gain by being aggressive and entering a war during winter in if you know this game very well, I am sure you can tell more exactly, like, oh, you're gonna send troops to the Caribbean and invade there and upset the UK. That's what you're supposed to do. Oh, you should requisition and build a lot of cavalry because that's the only way to win the Austerlitz huge land warfare. I don't know this at all. I have no idea when I jump into the deep end of the pool and start playing this huge campaign, which consists of, I don't know, hundreds of turns. 500 turns, maybe. Anything else? Let's see how long this... this has been half an hour. And I think that's about ranting about Napoleonic Wars, about this game, what I'm planning. I'm a little bit afraid, as usual, being the gaming care bear that I am, that I'm doing some mistakes. And also I'm afraid the game's gonna start crashing, in case I will not return it, but because I've probably just been playing it 2 hours without actually playing it, just examining the setup. But I would like to try to progress and play a long campaign. I mean, you never heard that before, haven't you? So some other, you have 5,000 victory points, you have 110 national morale. These are like currencies. You can spend those on different, let me show you decisions in case you don't own any H-odd game or this one. So I could do all these martial law, secret police, draft, seize horses, requisition, plunder, retaliation, build depot, spies, scorched earth, siege works. Obviously a lot of these are for active wars, which I'm not in any. Cavalry screen, land sailors, field redoubts, surrender, trader, breach, siege works. Yeah, that's it. And I played a few of these. I've taken cannons from my ships to make a couple of 12-pounder batteries. And as I said, I improved territories and some forts up here in the north. Some volunteers in larger cities. But I'm saving my more costly and more heavy, like draft. It gives you 1,200 conscripts, which is great. But it also costs VP and loyalty and development points. So I think I'm gonna try to play it low key and try to have a low maintenance kind of war versus UK, and hopefully avoid ruining my infrastructure and development and loyalty. Obviously, if you know this game better, you probably know that, oh, make an early draft and then use develop territory to gain that back as soon as possible, so that you draft with a low long-term cost as much as possible. I don't have an oversight over that. So I'm waiting with drafts. Might be a mistake or it might be a long-term solution. So those are all the political regional decisions I have. 19 left. Yeah. So this game has, I think, 12 or 10 different background, objectives, regions, strategic map, diplomacy, history, decrease, military force, production, and forces. Under production, I can also show you this, that you can have automatic AI reinforcements, or you have to build your own reinforcements. Okay, I don't have any cavalry reinforcements, so let's build one of that. That's 20 horses. Let's build one artillery reinforcements. That's some more material. I have 35 infantry reinforcements. How these work, I don't quite know. Are they 1,000 men, or they reinforce your armies automatically off map, I think. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got a little bit of insight into the challenges of an age-odd game, which is quite complicated, quite comparable to Between You and Me, Paradox Entertainment or Interactive, Hearts of Iron, kind of, no, what's there? Europa Universalis games. They're similar. These are a little bit more, I feel, hardcore warfare games, which I appreciate. But their UI and performance is a little bit more clanky in the tooltips. There's a few spelling mistakes. I think it's a French gaming company. You can sometimes tell that it's not written in the native language, which means, like, what are you trying to explain with all these tooltips here? So a little bit harder to understand age of games, but they're about comparable in enjoyment for me. And sometime during the weekend, I'm going to be progressing to turn 2, examine that, and then I'll come back to you and see what happened during the turn 1, if it crashed, if my resource builds were crazy and I have to go back to turn 1 and redo them all again. Because I haven't really done a lot here. The brown line you see down here is an Italian leader. I decided to send him down during winter because I don't think a single guy is going to face attrition. Also, I sent out my one privateer unit into the Atlantic Ocean, Northeast Atlantic Trade Box. That's all the movement I've done, ordered so far. So thank you for watching, boys and girls. Take care, have a nice weekend, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.